Oh, man. We're getting attacked right now, Jimmy. We're getting
Why?
attacked.
What?
Talking heads. When we win, we are amazing. When we lose, draw, the world is coming to an end. Temper your emotions, brothers. I mean, look at we haven't even gotten into the game yet. And quite frankly, you and I both know, Jimmy, you and I both know, and actually you're probably more calm-headed than I am. It's mostly on the Mexico game that I saw us rounding a corner in terms of a complete performance, right? Do you think, Jimmy, let me ask you this. Do you think that the game against Jamaica away is a harder game than a home game against Mexico? Like, do you think it's harder to get up for, harder to survive? Because there's certain elements of it that are certainly more difficult or different or challenging, a different type of challenge. But do you think it's harder to excuse the fact that we've got to play really ugly and get a lot or a little bit of luck to get out with a point for Jamaica? Or, because again, I go back to my own experiences where I don't ever remember really playing amazing on the road or feeling satisfied, but I remember getting points and getting wins in qualifiers and big games and feeling like, man, I can't wait to get a home game where we can play a little bit different.
Yeah, it's a good question. I would say that coming off of the performance that we did, which is where I kind of led you in my first question to start the show, and how well we played against Mexico and how everything just kind of fell in our favor. We created our own luck. We created all those positive vibes, as it were. And I think maybe there was some element of it. If we look at the game itself, the first 15 to 20 minutes, we carried on that momentum. Timothy Weah scored a great goal. I love that he combined with Ricardo Pepi. I love that Pepi's checking back into that space to look to combine, not necessarily get it and turn and make the game about himself. He's looking to combine. Timo Weah continues his run, does very well to get around Bobby Reed, and has cool, calm, composed finish to get to hit the post and into the goal. When Michail Antonio scored, something changed for us collectively. We just seemed a little unsure of ourselves. I don't think the sky's falling at all. When I went on HQ, I kind of came on and said, we dodged a few things. A couple things went in our favor from a referee perspective. We got a point away from home. I'm going to leave emotion out of this. I'm going to look at this very sensibly. 4 points in a window where we had a home game against Mexico and away to Jamaica. I'd take it. Take it.
Do you think that this game in itself was a better performance from the U.S. than it was in Panama, than it was in Honduras the first half, El Salvador, or Canada? I mean, obviously Jamaica and Mexico, great wins. But in Honduras second half, but as a complete performance over 90 minutes, do you think this was a better one? Because it didn't feel. Now, granted, I don't think Jamaica had a ton of chances, but I think the U.S. was playing into Jamaica's strengths for a large part after the goal. I thought the U.S. showed again their ability to compete with Jamaica before Michail Antonio hit the screamer, and then never really settled in again. And that's what I've seen throughout this. And again, this is a very young team. And this is a very young team that's only getting experience by getting experience. And I look to that field and, and I would love for us to go through the players that you think are trending up, down after this game, had good performances or questionable ones. Because when I look at Timo Weah, fantastic in the last game, good to score the goal in this game, but a lot of times took too many touches, was trying to do a little bit more than I think he usually did, slowing the game down. Same thing for other players. And I could go across the board of just feeling a little bit different. Maybe I was trying too hard or not knowing the flow. I thought our fullbacks were too high and wide, which I think is cheating defensively and really screwing over your back line. That means you have to be good in possession, but it also means that you're not defensive first, which you should be when you're playing on the road anyway. It felt like at times they were just way too high because that's the easy thing to do, as opposed to knowing that you might have to take wave after wave of counterattacks and defense. But yeah, there's a number of things that just didn't impress me that I think this team could do better. I don't think it was a bad performance, but I certainly don't think it was a good one by any means.
Okay, make sure everybody you hit like and subscribe. Leave a comment, maybe a one-word comment to describe your mood, and we'll keep those comments coming. We saw a good one from Fight Pizza, and it makes me want to know what Fight Pizza is all about. Like, what kind of slice of pie are you getting at Fight Pizza? Sounds like it's very aggressive pizza, but I'm in on it. And I thought he made a good comment about U.S.-Mexico games are one-offs. They're unique. They're separate than everything else. And when I guess he's speaking to us or everybody that's watching, when is everybody going to understand that? And then once we get back to business, it's just a little bit different. It's harder to get up for it, I guess, to kind of extrapolate where I think he's going with this comment. But yeah, keep those comments coming. We really appreciate everything that you're saying. We're all in this together. We all want the U.S. to succeed. Maybe not all of them. I saw Yale in there saying, yeah, Jamaica should have beaten those pretty boys. I love that.
I agree. Jamaica should have won that game.
Jamaica should have won that game. Well, I'm not going to pretend otherwise. But to your point, though, Heath, and I want to jump in and really say what really kind of frustrated me, if I had any elements of frustration, I wasn't surprised by how this game played out. But I was surprised that we didn't create more clear-cut chances. And with the addition of Busio, I thought he was going to help provide that, whether on set pieces, because Brendan Aronson's set pieces against Mexico were not good. I thought Busio was going to be able to provide maybe a little bit of a different service, a better ball in, a more consistent ball in into the box for those types of opportunities. But he was another guy that I thought took extra touches when maybe he didn't need to, and that slowed everything down. And if you have a couple of those guys that are in the attacking third or near the attacking third that are taking that extra touch, now the runs aren't timed well anymore. The support to go get it, those passing lanes are gone. And I feel like we could just never get control of the game. When I look back,
no steady pulse. Yeah, there was no rhythm. Some of those things.
The first 15 or 15, 20 minutes.
Yeah,
excellent. Like with the press that we were putting on, Jamaica looked nervous, and we did exactly what we talked about in the preview, which was, or one of the things we were thinking about: do we come out and be on the front foot, or do we sit back and absorb? Because Jamaica's had a tough time scoring goals in qualifying. 5 goals in 7 games prior to this one is not good. And a lot of it was individual efforts that were doing it. It wasn't anything collective. I thought there was an element of potentially us being able to sit back, knowing they needed all 3 points, to use their desperation against them and then hit them on the counter. But we went out on the front foot, and I was like, God damn, these guys are good. We finally have the start of a second half at the beginning of a first half, and then we lost our way. And that's part of this. And maybe it's the youth of the team, because as you mentioned, or if we haven't mentioned it yet, that was the second youngest team we've ever started in a World Cup qualifier. But how are we going to regain that momentum? How are we going to start to put our terms? When are we going to control the game again? When we lose it? And how quickly can we regain that? The top teams know how to do that. And I don't know if we're there yet, but if we really want to compete and have a deep run in the World Cup, qualify for World Cups, go toe-to-toe with the biggest nations, we got to get that part figured out. And that's going to be a nice challenge for this group of players who arguably are the most talented players we've ever had.
Yeah, Jimmy, I know we got to go to break in a second, but real quick, Alex makes a good point, saying is getting shook like that after a Godsmack of a goal like Antonio hit by a byproduct of our best players being so young. And I certainly think so. I think when you look at the rhythm of the game, it was always like when we were good against Honduras, it was because the game was predictable. We knew where the exit was. We knew where the counter was. We knew how to relieve pressure, change the point of attack. And everybody understood that, right? Whereas at times we got out of messes, and then you have a fullback up high, and Brendan Aronson's darting to one side, and Ricardo Pepi is double teamed, and they didn't like finding the timing of the passing and the rhythm of the passing, the pulse of the team. We didn't find it. So then that goes into one player turnover. Now you're defending again. Next player turnover. Then you're defending again. And after a while, you fall out of rhythm. Doesn't matter how good you are. This team is not Man City. It's not, and even those best teams in the world get out of rhythm from time to time, where the runs are into different spaces. Players have different thoughts. I mean, these players are autonomous, right? And you think the movement should be into the channels, and other players checking in, and other guys arriving late. And in the international game, it just gets a little bit quicker. And when that falls apart, it can fall apart very quick. And that can be a result of these players being young or the inexperience, because they never really got it back after that goal. They never really settled in coming out in the second half, and you just go, hey, slow it down. We've got this triangulation in the midfield. We can find that numeric. We only need one numerical advantage anywhere on the field to be able to change the point of attack. It never felt like we got this like, oh, here's how we're going to play again. And previously, we go into halftime, we come out and we go, here's how we're going to play, and here's how we expect them to play. And we've done really well in those moments. But this was one where it just felt like we allowed the chaos to resume for the entire second half that played into the hands of Jamaica. What's your thoughts on that?
No, I would just say that as you speak about this game, and as I think about it from, let's say, a 30,000-foot view, there were a lot of similarities to the first match of World Cup qualifying against El Salvador, where we just couldn't get it going. We couldn't figure anything out. Now, what's different is I think we were nervous for that one. That was a lot of first-timers playing away from home in a World Cup qualifier. It's a completely different beast than friendlies or whatever it may be. And Gold Cup and Nations League. It's just different, especially away from home, because those two tournaments were on U.S. soil. And now with this game, what felt different but felt similar is that we had a very similar lineup to what the success we just had against Mexico. And maybe that gave us false expectations of what we were going to walk into, that we could do it again, that we were going to continue to take these steps to bigger and better things. But I just don't think it's that easy. And that's something you and I talked about, having experience in World Cup qualifying, especially against the Jamaica team. And I think this has to be said. Their backs were against the wall. They needed to get something out of this game. They needed all 3 points and deserved it, as we said. Didn't get it. They got to get stuck with one. They still have it in their hands. They need a lot of good results for the rest of the 6 games that they're going to be playing in. But when you have that type of desperation, we didn't have that same type of desperation. We came into this feeling very good about ourselves. They weren't. And I still think that has to be brought into the equation.